News. Today, Vice President Kamala Harris will meet with chief executives at Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, and other tech companies to talk about safeguarding strategies for limiting the risks of artificial intelligence. Now, this meeting comes after other tech leaders, I should say, like Elon Musk, sounded the alarm back in March about the rise of artificial intelligence, demanding a pause in future development.
Well, speaking of artificial intelligence, the world of AI continues to grow rapidly. Later this morning on Good Day DC, we are talking about AI and the workforce. Right now, though, we're talking about AI and politics. Let's bring in senior tech analyst with Americans for Prosperity, James Czerniawski. James, good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Jeanette. Great to see you, too.
You know, the list could go on and on. AI and medicine, AI and any number of things, even games. But as we mentioned, we're talking about politics. For folks who aren't familiar, there is an ad that the RNC released. You can see it on YouTube. It basically shows what they say the world would look like, the U.S. specifically, would look like if Biden were reelected. And I guess to put it lightly, it would look apparently apocalyptic, right? It would just be disastrous. And it is entirely AI generated. I'm curious to know your reaction to the video when you saw it.
Yeah, I think kind of relating to your comments at the outset there, it really demonstrates just how powerful the AI tool is. In this instance, it is a great example of how AI can be used to go and communicate a message that the RNC wants to convey when it comes to its views on a second term of a Biden presidency. But it really just highlights just how important this technology can play in any of these different areas here. It's pretty exciting in its own right to know that that's an option that's there. You know, you had some people that were overreacting and saying that, oh, well, this is bad because, you know, misinformation and whatnot. But that being said, I don't really think that political ads were known for being wholesome before the incorporation of AI either. So this feels like a relitigation of old stories in some ways.
But do you think there's a difference? We actually were just playing the images just now between, I mean, there might be some folks who see that, and there are who see that and don't realize some of it is AI generated. We should mention there is a disclaimer on the upper left-hand side that lets folks know that. But do you think it can be misleading? Perhaps not in this case, but in others where it does look like this could actually be happening.
Yeah, I think there's always the potential that something could be misleading, but that's also something where when we're talking about, let's say, deep fakes, where we can certainly see AI probably go and enhance that particular kind of content, we're getting better at being able to identify and track that. And consumers, you know, I don't think that they're necessarily unintelligent when it comes to being able to realize like something's a little misleading. This one in particular, with this ad, is certainly a lot better in terms of quality, but lots of other AI ads that have been generated have been pretty clearly bad too. So there's a lot of room for growth in this area, and I just think that it's going to be something that we're going to continue to monitor. I do think that the fears are broadly pretty overblown right now. This is very early in the process, all things considered. So I think that we can anticipate that more people will use it in some way as we're looking to this upcoming election cycle.
We should mention Democrats haven't pledged, the DNC haven't pledged to not use AI in their ads, right? But there has been a bill presented in the House to regulate this. I want to go to your point about, you know, there are ads that can be deceptive or misrepresent things all the time. But some might argue just because we've seen it happen in different forms in the past doesn't mean it shouldn't be regulated. Really, period, but specifically when you're talking about AI. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that, again, that's really more a question of the underlying content in and of itself. It's not the AI's fault that you're having misleading content being produced. That's just the nature of political ads in and of itself. And if you don't like the content that ads present, which are always a little, you know, nebulous at best sometimes because they're political ads, then, you know, that's a different conversation that we can have. It's not really AI's fault here. I think that it's more about just, you know, having a conversation about what to reasonably expect here. And I don't think that Americans are out of tune with that. I think that we can totally understand with political ads that you're not exactly getting a full picture. So that's just something that you have to keep in the back of your mind. And, you know, we're going to continue to have these conversations as we're looking forward. I'm not worried about it in the slightest.
All right. I do agree with you that this isn't the last we're going to see of AI in general, but certainly not in politics. Last question here. Do you think there should be some form of regulation?
I think that, again, like the RNC didn't hide away from this either. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if people want to disclose that they're using AI, they are. And I think that it's going to be pretty apparent in some ways. And again, new technology, it's really developing. So it's just something that we'll have to continue to monitor. And I'm sure it'll be pretty fascinating to see how it gets used in other cases that aren't so charged, if you will.
All right. I would encourage folks to see that ad for yourself if you want to take a closer look at it. It is on YouTube if you'd like to check it out. All right. Americans for Prosperity, James Czerniawski joining us this morning. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, 7:35. Steve?
All right, I want to take another peek outside because